Hi guys, my name is Moran and welcome to my channel. And today we are going over the stories from Am I the Asshole subreddit because it's my personal favorite. And I think the topic of today's video, which unites all the stories, is very interesting because we are going to be talking about snobs or what people label as snobs. We will see. I'm not sure. I don't remember any of the stories I picked for this one, so pretty bad memory in that department. Before we start, I want to refresh everybody's definition of snob, including mine. Snob is a person with an exaggerated respect for high social position or wealth who seeks to associate with social superiors and looks down on those regarded as socially inferior. A person who believes that their tastes in a particular area are superior to those of other people. With that in mind, let's dive in. So the first one I have for you today is, am I the asshole for telling my daughter's boyfriend that she doesn't need his charity? A few months ago, my daughter Lisa, 15 female, confessed to me that she had a boyfriend and that she wanted to introduce him to us because he's a very serious boy and it's important for him to get along with his girlfriend's parents. I said yes, and she brought him over the weekend for dinner. When he arrived, I was surprised to see him driving a brand new BMW. He was also very well dressed and brought me an expensive glass vase as a gift. He introduced himself as Elliot, 17 male. Later, Lisa told me that Elliot goes to a private school and that they met at her part-time job. From the evidence, it was obvious that Elliot is upper class. I was afraid that Elliot would think that she was a poor girl that he could take advantage of, but over time I realized that he actually cares about Lisa. The only thing that bothers me is that Elliot always gives Lisa expensive gifts. Brand new books, Lisa is a bookworm, designer clothes, and jewelry. I warned Lisa to be careful or people would think she's a gold digger. Lisa explained to me that Elliot likes to pamper her with gifts, but it's not a big deal. My husband and I like Elliot a lot, but every time Lisa comes home with a new gift, my husband gets sad because we could never get her something like that. I clarified that Elliot has never looked down on us and he often says that he loves our loving family since he rarely spends time with his parents. For her birthday, my husband and I throw Lisa a small party. I asked Elliot privately what he got for her and he said that he bought her a brand new Kindle, something that she wanted for years. I warned him that Lisa has been saving for months to buy a second-hand Kindle. Elliot said that he already knew but thought a new one would be better and would make her happier. I know he didn't mean to be rude, but his words made me believe that he thought we could never get her one on our own and that it was his duty to be Lisa's savior from poverty. A little annoyed, I told him that Lisa doesn't need charity from someone who's never worked a day in his life. What a mother. Wonderful. Elliot didn't say anything and the party went on smoothly, but when everyone left, Lisa blew up in my face. She told me that Elliot was very sorry that I thought he was a snob and that he only wanted to make her happy. She also revealed that she has returned him most of the gifts and that she has told him to stop many times, but Elliot keeps doing it even though she loves him for him, not his money. My husband, of all people, told me that I was rude to a nice boy and that while he doesn't like the expensive gifts, he understands that Elliot thinks if he doesn't give them to Lisa, she won't love him because of his sad family history. I never thought of it that way and I feel a little guilty. So, am I the asshole? Well, you should feel not a little guilty, but a lot guilty because you fucked up big time. You upset a 17-year-old boy who sounds like a fucking angel. You're being a terrible adult. Do better. I want to go in this one in order of the paragraphs because I have a lot to say, so let's do that. The first thing I want to repeat, because I already said that, Elliot sounds like a very well-mannered, amazing, healthy teenage boy, which is a point of praise for me because they are very rare in my experience. At least I haven't met that many well-raised, nice boys in my day and age. I think that's admirable that he is so considerate and he wanted to meet her parents because it was important to him, and I think it's a very good thing to do when you're so young. Second, what I want to say, I warned Lisa to be careful or people would think she's a gold digger. Why the fuck do you care what people think? It gets me annoyed on so many levels when parents or just even random grown-up people think that it's so fucking important what other people think of them. And for a lot of people who are trapped in this opinion, it poisons their lives, because when you're so concerned about what people think, you kind of mess with your own life, your opportunities, and your mental health, because people are generally not that into other people's lives. Everyone has their own problems. Everyone is so into themselves and their own universe that they barely notice anybody else. Yes, they might gossip about you, but what do you care? So what if people think she's a gold digger, even if she's careful, as the mother said, which I don't really get how she can be careful. I don't know, throwing the gifts away or something. But yeah, anyway, even if she's careful, I guarantee there will be at least 3 people who will say she's a gold digger. It's inevitable. If a person from the family that is not as well off dates someone richer than them, there will 100% be people who, even though the couple looks in love and healthy, will say that she's with him only for the money. It is just a fact of life. Get over it. It's on the people, okay? And it's not a good reason to stress your daughter over it. And then we go into a different issue that is the biggest one in this story, is the mother's complex over money. This whole thing reads as someone who is embarrassed by their own financial situation. When Elliot said that he got her a new Kindle and he thought it would be a better one than a secondhand one, I'm sure he didn't mean anything, because it's just like his way of life. It's normal for him. I'm pretty sure if he drives a BMW, for him a new Kindle is like giving you a pack of gum. So that doesn't really matter for him. And she, as a mother, should understand these things better. And for her to just be like, he didn't mean to be rude. He wasn't rude. And yes, he didn't work a day in his life. That is true. His money comes from his parents. So that might feel a little bit unearned and unfair for you that he can spend all those money on your daughter, but you're an adult. You should understand those things. If the relationship continues, the mother will probably fuck with daughter's head for a very long time. And I do not wish that on Lisa. The last thing I will say, I promise, I think it's funny that she says, my husband, of all people, told me that I was rude. Well, yeah, your husband is the person who should tell you those things. I do not like this sort of assumption that a lot of people have, that if you're a couple, your partner should just be complicit in everything that you do. Because I've seen a lot of stories where people are like, my husband told me I was wrong and I'm so mad at him. Well, if you were wrong, he is the best person to tell you that, because it's your closest person. And if you fuck up, a lot of people will not tell you you did fuck up. And your partner is the one that is able to keep you in check. Granted, if you have a healthy relationship, because in a lot of ways, if you are dating a narcissist, for example, they will blame you for everything and they will tell you that you were wrong here and everywhere, just for funsies, because for them, everyone is wrong all the time, except for them. I am glad that husband had enough of strength to call her out, and Reddit came together and served her with an asshole verdict. I agree. Do not like this approach. I feel like I need to have a bit of a sip of something stronger before we go into the next one, because it's awful. Am I the asshole for telling my 30 female girlfriend, 27 female, she does not have a real job? My 30 female girlfriend, 27 female, and I both work in finance. Well, sort of. We met in college and both graduated together 4 years ago. In 2017, we both earned a bachelor's in accounting and finance. I decided to study for my CPA exam right after graduating, and she decided to work a low-level accounting job at a construction company earning $35,000 per year. I was not happy with her decision to do this, but I know she has never been quite as driven as me. Fast forward to today, I work at one of the big 4 accounting firms earning $89,000 per year. I have worked long hours and put my all into this position. My girlfriend is still at the construction company, but has kind of worked her way up and earns $60,000 annually. I do not really understand her job position. She manages accounts for different projects. Our main fight over the past 4 years has been career choices. We went out with my colleagues about a month ago and just had drinks. One of them asked what my girlfriend does for a living. I had drunk a bit much and instantly felt mad and embarrassed as she explained it to him. I said without thinking she doesn't have a real job. My girlfriend laughed it off and said, "Yeah, I get paid to take naps all day." Her response made everyone at the table uneasy. Well, at least we know that everyone at the table was not a jerk. We decided a few years ago to each put $1,000 per month into savings for our future, which we have been doing religiously. Well, I checked the account today and noticed she did not put in her $1,000 this month. I confronted her about this and she says she's putting it into her project car instead. Let me explain the car. I have been working a ton of hours this time of year. She is alone quite often at the house. She decided to take up a new hobby. She bought some early 90s car and has been putting every dime into it to make it a race car, I think. Well, you think? Are you even dating? Anyway, I got mad for a wrong reason here. She just bought some fuel system electronic thing that was like $1,200. We are not on the same page anymore about our life goals and aspirations. I do not even have room to park my vehicle in the garage anymore. I do not think a luxury vehicle should be parked on the curb. She's $1,000 behind schedule for a loud, trashy car, and I cannot deal. I cannot deal with you, girl. I asked today if we even share the same goals anymore. She says she's not sure, and that I was really an a-hole when we were out with my colleagues. She says I do not respect her. I told her that is not true. Isn't it though? I mean, I just know she's smart and capable of more than a dusty 40-hour per week job. She says she's happy there and plans to stay in that industry if we move to the coast. I do not know what to do. I asked her if she was cool with me posting on here and she said she did not care. So yeah, am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend she does not have a real job? That is the question here. Yes, you are the asshole. I'm willing to give a little bit of a benefit of the doubt because the person writes she was drunk when she made that remark, and people do a lot of weird things and say a lot of hurtful stuff when they are drunk or high or whatever. That is not an excuse, of course, but to some extent, she might have phrased her feelings poorly. At the same time, in this case, I am not willing to forgive this drunk comment because it aligns really well with the rest of the things she says about her girlfriend. She kind of like makes it inadvertently very clear that she sort of does not respect her girlfriend, even though she says it's not true, but that's how it reads. Because, first of all, she does not respect her career choice, and it would be one thing if the girlfriend was just not as driven as she writes, just wanted to work this job that is like beneath her because she had no other options. But here it's clear that the girlfriend is happy at the job. She likes having extra free time. She likes having regular hours. And it looks like she's not all that bothered about having not that much money. So it just seems like they have a very different understanding of what success is. She clearly pushes this mindset that you have to be driven, you have to reach for the stars, you have to work yourself to the bone to get like $1 billion every month just for the fuck's sake. She does not take into the account that for a lot of people, this is not the main goal in life. This is not their priority, and this is not what's gonna make them happy. Our only goal should be making ourselves happy, even if this lifestyle that makes you happy doesn't fit into the standard definition of what should be successful or what should make you happy. Because for the girlfriend, it seems like she's fine with it. She loves it. She has her car as a project, and I think that's wonderful because if she has some money to spare, she has some time to spare, she should definitely put it into some little hobby of hers. Everyone should have like side interests, because if all you do is just work from sunrise to sunset or even later and then you just sleep, what else is in your life? Are you actually happy? It's a different conversation if that's actually the only thing making a person happy. But here it looks like the author has a lot of resentment towards her girlfriend for picking this more relaxed life for herself. So she kind of berates everything about her girlfriend, starting from her career choices, ending with her project. Do you really want to be together? If yes, you gotta work on your issues. What do you mean she doesn't have a real job? Circling back to that, what do you mean? She works hours, she gets paid. Just because you think that this job is beneath her or that you don't understand her position doesn't mean it's not a real job. It's like those people who say that influencers and models don't really have a real job. People put their effort in, put their time in, and that's the definition of a job. You exchange your skills and your time for money. Makes me very confused. The author is unsupportive, not a very good partner. She's very set in her ways. I think she's a snob, and she should maybe reconsider a little bit what's going on. Let's move on. This one is a bit of a drama from some cozy mystery book, I feel like, but without murder. Am I the asshole for directly calling out a woman's snobbish behavior, causing several people to leave our knitting group? So one thing I can't stand is snobby people who act like the only way to do things is their way. It's a huge thing in crafting groups. People act high and mighty because of how they learned, the yarn they use, knitting being better than crocheting, etc., etc. I hated the energy in a lot of existing groups, so I started my own. I cannot say two W sounds one after the other. It kills me. Why is it so hard? We switched, there I go, good job, to virtual stuff since COVID started. And I have rules that you have to agree to follow before you can join. And one of the rules is to be kind to others and absolutely no snob behavior. Everything has been going great except this pre-existing group of friends joined, and they really pushed the boundaries of the aforementioned rule. They started dipping their toe with comments about acrylic yarn and how they would never use it, with dramatic icky faces. Well, they did this again when a new girl joined the group. She was using an acrylic yarn in her project. One of the women asked her what she was using, and then the little clique acted like they weren't directly remarking while obviously doing it. This is kind of hard to explain, but if you ever had to deal with mean girls, you know what I'm talking about. It was like, I just don't understand how people are still using acrylic yarn these days. I mean, there are so many other options, unless you're still shopping at big box stores instead of indies. In the middle of that rant, I was just like, hey guys, let's remember that we're not here to judge anyone for what they're using or how they're using it, okay? This pissed off the group because they started arguing with me about how nobody was judging anyone, and oh, so I can't even have an opinion now? My god, I love when people are being bitches to each other and then they're like, it's just my opinion. You should do something about that nose of yours, but it's just an opinion. That was an example from real life, so there you go, guys. Anyways, why are you trying to censor us? We're having a conversation. If someone doesn't like it, they can leave. I muted everyone and said something like, the rules for this group are very clear and you have to acknowledge them before you join the call. If there is an issue, we can talk about it after. The women all ended up leaving the group, and I got a bunch of nasty emails and tags on a few social media posts calling me out for being pro-censorship and a tyrant, and saying how I shouldn't be in charge of anything because of how obviously biased I am. I don't think I'm in the wrong for this. My rules exist to make things welcoming for others. Sitting around putting down other people does not feel like it's very welcoming, especially for snobby crap like they were we're doing Am I the Asshole? I want to preface this with a bit of a rant about the fact that I think a lot of people, even I dare say most of the people, at some point in their lives were guilty of being snobs. I know I have. I've been mean to people about their reading choices at some point, about the genres and stuff. I'm not proud of those things, but I'm trying to like fix it and be more aware of it, as I think everyone should be. Because yeah, when you're younger, you might not know any better depending on the environment you grew up in. But when you get older, it's your responsibility to break away from that pattern and do something about it, and not just go on inertia and just keep being this mean girl from high school, because we're not in high school anymore. It's not cool to bring people down and judge them because of the fucking acrylic yarn. This is actually funny going into the discussion of the post. Like, I know how to knit, I know how to cross stitch and stuff like that. I grew up in like this classical Eastern European village and a small town, so the sexism was still on a rampage across the lands, and I was brought up to be this like 19th century housewife of like knowing how to knit, knowing how to paint, cross stitch, cook, clean, and most of all, never argue and pleasure your husband. That sounded awful, but that's essentially what it is, what this upbringing is. Thankfully, it was not that strict. So yeah, anyway, big rant, but I went back into knitting like a year ago. I spent a lot of my time doing that, and the sweater you actually saw in the previous video is the one I knitted for myself. I'm very proud of it. But yeah, I don't actually like anything except for acrylic yarn, because acrylic yarn usually comes in a lot of bright, fun colors. Yes, not a very good quality, admittedly, but at the same time, what I'm saying is it's also a matter of personal preference. For example, I hate fucking wool yarn. It's terrible. It's like, it's itchy. It's very unruly to knit from. It's just generally not my thing. But I don't go around like saying that people should not use wool yarn because it's stupid. And the behavior of these women is just strange to me. It's not your thing. Move on. Like, shut the fuck up. You're in a knitting group. What can be more innocent than that? Why do you need to be toxic in the most peaceful place on earth? Like, what is up with you? What I want to also say, the reaction they have only solidifies the assholery. Instead of just moving on, they come back at her with literally a shitstorm. It's just a type of person, I think, that does that. It's people who never learned that some things should not be said, and that in a lot of areas of life, it doesn't matter what other people do as long as they're happy. I think the yarn that you use is definitely one of those things where you shouldn't give a fuck about what anyone else uses. For me, it's such a big problem because for these women, it definitely expands into all of the areas of their lives. They definitely go about telling people what they should and shouldn't do. And if people call them out on that, they're like, well, it's just my opinion. And at the same time, they say the meanest thing to you that can traumatize a person literally for years, or like give birth to an insecurity they've never even had. Well, maybe keep some opinions to yourself. That's my answer. That's my big answer. The author of this post is not an asshole. Mean girls from here should go back to high school and learn some manners, because they clearly don't have any. Good luck to them being kicked out of this wholesome, beautiful knitting group. Let's move on to the last story we have for today. I'm so excited. This one is just a masterpiece of snobbery and bitchery, in my opinion. Am I the asshole for telling my rich parents that my lower class friends and their families are better people than they could ever dream of being? I'll start by saying that I'm a 17-year-old male. I feel like it's Elliot writing from a different account. Both my parents are very successful lawyers and we live in a super nice house. They have given me everything I could ask for, but they are not exactly there for me emotionally. I can't remember the last time we ate dinner together or had a decent conversation. Most of the time, they're not even home and it's just me. I feel like a ghost in my own house. We moved to a new town not too long ago, and my parents enrolled me in the more exclusive private school in the area. I've gone to private schools my entire life, but my experience at the school was horrible. I'm short, effeminate looking, and obviously gay. The only reason I didn't get my ass seriously kicked was because my parents are rich. I begged my parents to switch schools, but they were hesitant because the only other option was public schooling. I finally escaped the private school of circle jerking and enrolled in this new school. I guess I should mention that a few years ago, the school district expanded their enrollment zone to slightly cover a lower income area, which resulted in a handful of students from low income families being enrolled. My first few days at this new school were brutal, with a lot of the same problems following me, until I ran into Garfield. It's a family name, I swear he's not named for a cat. He spoke up and said he would love to be my lab partner when no one else would. We quickly became friends, and he introduced me to his childhood friend also attending the school named Eduardo. Since my parents are so distant to begin with, they never noticed me spending so much time with my new friends. Garfield's mother is a waitress and his dad is a construction worker. Eduardo's mother cleans houses and his dad works odd jobs such as driving for Uber. Both of their families are amazing and involved. I started dating Garfield and had real friends for the first time ever. Good for you. Both Garfield and Eduardo came over to my house about twice and met my parents. The other day, my mother pulled me over and casually mentioned that I was spending a lot of time with that blonde boy, Garfield, and the Hispanic kid. Oh wow. She asked what their families did and where they lived, and I told her. She immediately became upset and said I was aiming way below my abilities, and these were not the kind of influences I needed in my life. All right, because they are from lower income families, they are terrible influence, right? Because this is how it works. I fucking hate that. It makes me so angry. I asked why, and she said we just live different types of lives, and I'll understand when I'm older. I freaked out and said both of them and their families have been there more for me in the 6 months I've known them than my parents ever have, and that they're cold, unfeeling snobs. My mom started crying and said public school has changed me for the worse. I've never seen her cry before, and I'm starting to feel horrible. Am I the asshole for saying they're rich hypocrites and that my friends' families are better? No, you're not. Yes, it was a harsh way to put it. If we're talking about being a bigger man, you should have just ignored your mother or told her that she's wrong and she's being judgmental. The way he put it is a bit much, but at the same time, it was warranted, in my opinion, because if your mom comes up to you and she's like, I've noticed you hang out with those poor kids, stop, you're not aiming right. I would also be like super mad. I would be like, what the fuck, mom? You shouldn't teach your children that because they're gonna grow up being fucking assholes. And the way she puts it, that you will understand when you grow up. Well, he will only if you keep teaching him that and keep pressuring him into judging people by their class, because that's what it comes down to. You just qualify good or bad people based on the amount of money they have, and this is such a terrible way to do anything. You will never be able to find happiness if all you're concerned about is the amount of money your friends have, because you will never have friends. You will never have real friends. This story proves the mother wrong at its core, because all he says is that he has never felt like he fit in his private school because those kids are dicks, and then he wanted to change school precisely because of that. He went to a public school and now he has friends. He has a boyfriend whose families are warm and accepting, and he's finally getting what he needs from life. And I think that's beautiful. I think this boy is amazing for not following this shallow logic his mother is trying to impose on him. I'm not sure if her crying was manipulative or real. Might have been real, because she might have actual guilt for being so cold and unattentive to her child. But at the same time, her words just make everything worse, because she's like, yeah, you've changed for the worse, which translates to you should just be exactly as me and your father. You should not step out of the boundaries we set, because that's what we want. And that is all I have to say today. Thank you for watching if you're still here. If you liked the video, drop some thumbs up, and I will see you with another one hopefully soon. Bye.